All right, hope you slept off the Miami loss. We're going to dive into Wake Forest. Time to move along, keep the train rolling. We do have a couple leftover Miami thoughts that we do want to get to, but we will also preview Wake Forest, give you the prop shop, get you DeBundo's digits, all that fun stuff, and give you our picks for this upcoming matchup. A big one on the road. We're previewing it next.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome in. This is the Locked On Syracuse Podcast. I'm Tyler Aki with Tim Leonard. We're with you every single weekday, the only place to get daily Orange podcasts. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every single day, whether it's Spotify, Apple, the Odyssey app, and we're also free and available on YouTube as well. So check out the YouTube channel, always dropping some extra stuff there. We just put up an old video of us with Jeff Goodman.
Yeah.
And he kind of dove into the coaching stuff, and we kind of hinted last night, this could be Boeheim's last year after you've kind of seen the way that everything's transpired so far. And Goodman kind of got into that with us over the spring, I believe it was, like back in May, about what the succession plan is going to look like. So check that out as well on our YouTube channel and be sure to subscribe there. Let's start with a couple leftover thoughts from Miami, though, Tim, because I said yesterday on the show, because I wanted to break down into the defense a little bit. I said I was going to go back and rewatch the game and look at Jesse's blocks, what happened when. And I went back, and first of all, there was one block. So Jesse finished the game with 7 blocks. And I'm not trying to poo-poo Jesse at all right here. I'm just trying to lay some things out of what makes him effective. First of all, one of the blocks was Cole Swider's that got misattributed. So he really had 6 blocks in this game if you go back and watch the tape. The others that I looked at, he had 2 of them while Benny was on the floor and had 2 of them while Torrance was on the floor. Now, keep in mind, he was credited with 5 blocks in the first half and then 2 in the second half. He really had 4 in the first half and 2 in the second half. But it just kind of shows you when Benny and Torrance are out there defensively, things are a lot easier, I think, on Jesse. He can get out to the corners. He can gamble a little bit more because he knows he's going to have a little more help based on the personnel that's also out there alongside him.
Yeah, and I guess also he probably doesn't have to get out to the corner as much. Like, he might not be tasked with defending that 3. It'd be interesting if someone straight up asked Jim Boeheim, does your coverages change at all when Benny Williams is out there, or when player X off the bench is out there versus your starters? Because it does seem like at the start of games, they are requiring Jesse to get to the corner, and he was great against Miami in terms of how he started the game. But we've seen 2 or 3 times this year where he starts out a game, he's not getting to the corner. Jim Boeheim calls a timeout, brings in Frank Anselm, and yells at him on the sideline a little bit. That's happened several times, it feels like. Maybe 2 or 3 times isn't that many, but it feels like more than in years past where the center is responsible for guarding the corner more than we've seen in years past.
I think, too, when you think about, in the case of Jesse, and like if you were to ask Jim Boeheim that question, he'd probably tell you no. But I think it's a subconscious thing with Jesse from what he's seen so far this season where he realizes, oh, okay, Benny's in the game. Oh, okay, Samir's in the game. I can do things a little bit differently. And I don't think Jesse would even flat out tell you I do things a little bit differently, but I think in his subconscious, it probably is something that happens, and you see it sort of play out on the floor.
Right, and it's concerning because, yes, some of this is positioning with the defense, but the reason why I'm not overly optimistic that this defense turns around anytime soon, which, by the way, they dropped to 204 on KenPom defensive efficiency. That's as bad as we have ever seen since KenPom.
That's not just as bad. That's like double or triple. If you were to take the rankings, it's like double or triple the rankings of bad. Like,
usually, I mean, put it this way.
A bad Syracuse team is probably like, what, 50, right? If that.
Yeah, I'd have to go through. I mean, it's been a couple years in a row of sort of this type of defense, but not to this degree or not this bad. But I believe I could pull it up and double check myself. Let me do that as I'm talking.
Here, I've got the last, so not this season, but the previous 2. 77 last year, 116 the year before. If you go to that 2017 team that missed the tournament, that's 119. pretty much everything else has been top 40 or so. There's one where it was ranked 50th in 2001, but that's like even pre-zone.
But think about how bad that NIT team was defensively and how much we were yelling at the St. John's game and the lack of rotations and the new pieces struggling. And that was what we thought was worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like going, and you said 119 for that. Yeah. So we, at the start of the year, looked at how KenPom projected offense and defense, and we said, all right, can they overachieve on defense? Can they overachieve on offense? I don't have the exact number, and I don't think there's a way to go back and grab it, but wasn't it like 75-80 is what he projected the defense to be?
I don't even think it was that bad. I think it was like 65.
Wow. And we were like, yeah, that's not good. If they finish there, they need to do better than that to exceed expectations. And now they're at 204. So I know some people probably don't care about KenPom as much as we do or whatnot. But bottom line is, no matter what metric you look at, and the eye test says it too, this defense is as bad as we have ever seen under Jim Boeheim.
Yep, absolutely. I'm right there with you on that. All right, let's quickly get into Wake Forest here. This is a Demon Deacons team right now that has so far overachieved, if you look at it, but has had their hiccups a little bit so far in the ACC. They are coming off a victory against Florida State from earlier in the week where they just absolutely demolished them. But right now, I mean, when you look at what Wake Forest has done, they've sort of just taken care of business. Maybe they're not getting the respect that they deserve, but right now they're 12-3, 2-2 in the ACC. And this is a team that their losses are LSU, Louisville, this Miami team that Syracuse just faced. So really, I wouldn't say any
they're not bad
losses per se. I mean, maybe you could say Miami's sort of a bad-ish loss, but Miami's 4-0 in the ACC right now, so it's tough to even say that.
Yeah, going through their metrics, net ranking 46. Syracuse dropped to 106 in the net, by the way. I'm done checking the net, I think. I will say this.
This is going to be the ultimate barometer year of whether or not I care about the net moving forward, because you're going to see either a record number of teams get at-large bids from the mid-major ranks, or you're going to see legacy teams or power conference teams. Like if the power conference is still hogging a lot of these at-large, these last couple spots, then I'm going to know not to trust the net moving forward because it's not going to mean anything.
They do care about it, though, I think, based on what we've seen so far.
Again, it's a limited sample size, but I think this is the ultimate test here, given how many power conference teams.
NCAA tournament evaluation tool, though, and they put in money to make it happen. I don't think they're just going to ever totally disregard it when they go through their metrics, and it should level itself out as the season goes along here. Like Syracuse 106 in the net, that doesn't feel off to me. That
sounds right.
Pretty much what they are. Wake 46, that feels pretty much what they are. They're quad one opportunity here on the road. KenPom's 52 for them. They're a very balanced team. There's not a lot of stats that you look at and you say, oh, this is their weakness, this is their strength. KenPom offense 40th, KenPom defense 77th. But you're right, they haven't had any bad losses, and you got to give a lot of credit to Steve Forbes in his second year here. There's a lot of buzz in Winston-Salem over what he's doing because he's got his team playing just solid basketball and overachieving and a way ahead of schedule of what their timetable was.
9-0 at home right now. This game's in Winston-Salem, by the way, too. So this is going to be a real tough test right now. KenPom's projecting a 5-point victory for Wake Forest in this game, but you're right. They don't necessarily excel in any sort of area. They also aren't necessarily bad in any sort of area. I guess you could maybe pick at the defense a little bit. They're right now 77th in KenPom, but for a team that wasn't expected to be anything this year, you'll probably take that at this point.
I kill for 77 in KenPom from Syracuse.
77, we're talking about a tournament team for Syracuse. Yeah,
I know. Gosh, I mean, think how far off we are. I know we just belabored it, but gosh, it is sad how far this defense has fallen. I do think it's a winnable game, right? It's just this is the ACC this year. You have games on the road that are going up against teams that are and Wake Forest is maybe a little bit better than the bulk of the ACC, but it's still a winnable game nonetheless.
Yeah, listen, I think for Syracuse, literally for almost any team except for the following, I think any game is winnable for any team except for Duke, BC, and Pitt. Those teams have put themselves in opposite ends of the spectrum. BC and Pitt, I think, can lose and probably will lose almost every single game this year. Duke will probably win almost every single game in the ACC this year. Everyone else in between there can win any certain game against any of those opponents mixed in. What are those? The other 12 teams that are bunched in that little area.
And I could see us losing to Pitt. I mean, I know I laid it out yesterday. Pitt has lost 3 games by 5 points. BC did beat Notre Dame in a game, and they crushed him. So I'm with you. BC and Pitt stink, but it's not like the ACC really has a huge tier to it this year. It's just Duke, and then it's kind of everyone else, and progressively it gets worse. But Syracuse is probably 8, 9, 10 in that range, and Wake is probably 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there.
Yeah. That makes sense for sure. All right, we will get into the prop shop and all the other fun stuff that we like to do, as well as Dubundo's digits. But hey, we've got an incredible app for you, and everyone who buys gas needs to know about it. It's called Get Upside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. So just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use the promo code SCORE and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use the promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back. And guess what? There's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account, and you can cash out at any time to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. So just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's promo code SCORE.
Also want to tell you about BetOnline, which would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to boot. To sign up today, just go to their website. We have a 50% welcome bonus when you sign up for free as well. Just type in our promo code. That's Locked On, all one word. When you get started, Locked On, the promo code, 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, your favorite Vegas casino games are even on there. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Let's dive into this matchup a little bit more. Any sort of matchups that you're sort of looking at heading into this game? Again, this is actually a pretty big Wake Forest team. They're 19th in the country in height. So that should pose maybe some more problems for someone like Buddy Boeheim or Cole Swider. I pointed this out, and I meant to say this last night on the show. I tweeted this out on our account. Just some of the offensive lack of awareness yesterday. Out of an inbounds. Did you see this? That I tweeted out?
The Cole Swider one? I saw you tweeted that. Yeah.
Cole Swider, Miami willingly put a 5'11 Charlie Moore on Cole Swider out of an inbound and put him on a 6'9 Cole Swider, and Cole didn't touch the ball. It ended up being a turnover in that possession for Syracuse, but someone has got to explain that to me. How a 6'9 guy on a 5'11, so you're talking about a 10-inch differential, and a guy who can shoot, by the way, how he does not touch the ball in that sequence.
Yeah.
Makes zero sense to me.
No, you're right. There's a lack of offensive awareness,
no help side defense either. Nobody was helping.
The plays they're drawing up are not really plays, and it's struggling to get the offense going in a lot of instances, which I know has been a give and a take with Boeheim, and there's been some pros to that. The players will argue for the fact that it's a free-flowing offense and it's a little more natural that way. But the other thing that when I watch back the game, Charlie Moore, man, you got to give some props to him. That dude can ball.
His average distance on his shot had to have been like what? 30
That's what I was going to say. Like from the logo.
Yeah.
It was absurd how many he made from out there.
You can say that's a bad shot, but if he makes 6 of them, it's not a bad shot.
Yeah. And this is where we get into has the 2-3 zone passed, or has Jim Boeheim's philosophy been outdated based on how teams are shooting, because Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, this new generation,
Trae Young, I'm just thinking,
point guards, what would kids are shooting from out there, and they're learning growing up that's fine to take that shot. And Charlie Moore is one of those dudes that when he shot it, I wasn't like, oh yes, thanks Charlie. I was like, shoot, that's going to go in. And that's how I felt in a lot of these situations recently.
Yeah. The first couple with Charlie, I was like, all right, you'll give him that. But once he makes his 6th in 10 attempts, all right, at a certain point, the alarm has to start to sound. But
and then Boeheim said they adjusted, so they pushed out on him, and that caused driving lanes for Isaiah Long and Cameron McGusty. So that's the give and the take there, is when a guy gets hot, what do you do in a 2-3 zone defense? I mean, you can't really do much more than they did, which was push out a little bit more without giving up all the inside that Miami took advantage of in the second half.
So here's my philosophy for this game and really the rest of the season too. I know Jim Boeheim's got a couple different defensive schemes drawn up on the napkins right now, right? Just, it's time to empty the drafts. It's time to empty the drafts. Whatever little gimmick you want to throw in there, unload them. Just throw teams different looks all game long. Because right now, that's the only way I feel like you can do. What do you have to lose defensively at this point? Like, seriously, what do you have to lose?
Can't get worse. Yeah.
Any little idea that you have at this point, empty the draft. Throw them all out there. Whatever you got on all the napkins right now, implement them. Because it cannot get worse at this point.
And the only games that we won that were legit games were Indiana and Florida State. And that's when we went to that 1-3-1, and it was a wrinkle, and it was something new, and it didn't really last. And that's fine, because whatever the new wrinkle is that Boeheim goes to, or the new coverage change, it probably won't last, but maybe it buys you a couple games and just, throws you off. And that's something I was talking to someone else about this today, how these ACC teams, even Miami, not a team we play a ton, but we play them at least once every year. And Jim Larrañaga's been there every year since we joined the ACC. And he's going to his Syracuse folder in his desk, in his office, and he's looking up his notes, and he's watching back the game, and he's perfecting his way to play against the zone, right? Like, the zone being a curveball helps us in the NCAA tournament, but these ACC teams kind of know what they're doing. Virginia's carving us up now. They're passing. Everyone's kind of got a fix and a way to beat it right now, and it's sort of out there.
You have to defensively at this point buy yourself 10 to 12 minutes a half, I think. If you can buy yourself 10 to 12 minutes a half, you're probably going to be in a pretty good position as long as the shots are falling on your end. And listen, the shots have been falling a lot more than they haven't been this season. So that's the one thing that you got to be able to take advantage of here moving forward. All right, we've delayed the prop shop for long enough here, so let's dive into it a little bit. Banner game for us, by the way. We do have to pat ourselves on the back, all right, a little bit here, because you went 5-1. I went 6-0. You're in the plus now. You are plus 210, 33-33 this season. I am still in the minus, believe it or not. Despite going 6-0, I am still down 470, but I hacked off a good chunk of debt there in that game. Yep. So let's get into this. We'll start with Frank Anselem. Over under 7.5 minutes for Frank, who did not see the floor against Miami.
Yeah, I think he will play over 7.5 minutes because you laid out Wake Forest 19th in the country in size. Miami was a team that Jesse was getting clean looks against, and I think Wake has more bigger bodies that could get Jesse to foul and a little more tired, and it's just not going to be as easy for Jesse Edwards. I don't think Wake is some juggernaut down low, and their height is a little misleading, if anything, because they don't play all those guys, but still, they've got more size than Miami.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if I'm going to go 7.5. Like, I could see Frank playing. I think Frank will play in this game. No doubt in my mind. And I get, like, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of reason to put in Frank when Jesse was playing as well as he was in that game, but he fouls out and can't get in. There was another instance where they just went with a small lineup too. Like when Frank was in foul, or when
they played Jesse 3 guards at one point, right?
Yeah, when Jesse was Buddy, and they had Jimmy and Cole on the back line. Like there were chances to put Frank in. And I'm not saying Frank needed to play 10, 15 minutes. He didn't, but he needed to play probably 3 or 4 in that game. And maybe it sounds weird to nitpick at a guy not playing 3 or 4 minutes, but at the end of the day, like, you're a team that's depleted offensively, depleted athletically, and Frank's one of those guys who I think can help in both of those departments.
I also know that this sounds like waving the white flag a little bit, but this season's not going the way we want. Doesn't look like an NCAA tournament season. Let's keep Frank happy. Let's keep him here next year, right? Yeah. Like, play him some minutes if you can. That's how I feel.
Yeah. All right. I will go under, but I do think he plays in this game. Syracuse over under 10.5 3-pointers made. They're coming off a 17 3-pointer performance against Miami, but for you, 10.5 north or south?
So this is kind of the only flaw I saw of Miami when they had their 2 ACC losses. Louisville went 10 for 22 from 3. Miami, who we know can shoot it, went 9 for 18 from 3. So they can be gotten. I mean, their overall 3-point defense is pretty solid, but then you look at the teams they played, like even LSU, that's the toughest team they played. LSU just can't hit shots this year. So I think they've gotten a little bit lucky in terms of what they've drawn 3-point shooting wise, and Syracuse can get them in that regard. So I'm going to say over.
Yeah, 10.5 is an interesting number. I think it'll hover in the 10 to 12 neighborhood here. So, you know what? Little bit of rest time. They didn't do all the weird flights. They're just flying directly from Miami to Wake Forest. So yeah, I'll go with you on the over here. This certainly feels like we talked about how last game was going to be the Joe Girard bounce back game. This feels like it's going to be the Buddy bounce back game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can just see him having a really good game. Who will win the rebounding battle? Syracuse has actually rattled off a couple victories over the last couple of games, but where do you sit on this one? Who wins the rebounding battle, Syracuse or Wake?
Yeah, this shocked me. They're 3-0 in the ACC and winning the rebounding battle. 1-2 in those games and little victories, but overall this year, Syracuse 4-3 when they win the rebounding battle. They're 7-7, just like their overall record on winning versus losing the rebounding battle. So rebounding really hasn't been the issue compared to historical Syracuse teams. It's the turnover margin, which I know I brought this up yesterday and I didn't have the stat in front of me. Tied for 166 in the nation right now in turnover margin. Not good. I will say that they lose the rebounding battle because I just don't see Syracuse going 4-0 in the ACC, but who knows?
Yeah, you're probably right. It feels like the hourglass is starting to tick a little bit on this one. Yeah, I'll join you on that. I think Wake's got the size too, like we kind of have hit on as well. Who will lead Syracuse in scoring? You've evened out Buddy to plus 100, Girard, the winner last game, plus 235, Jimmy plus 285, Swider plus 400, Jesse plus 525, or someone off the bench plus 1,000.
I have no idea who to take in this game. Maybe I'll just dip down for a Jesse. Maybe he's feeling it the way that he had a good stretch of games in the battle for Atlantis. He basically was the leading scorer, except for Girard just overlapping him at the end of the game. So I'll go for the numbers there at plus 525. I think he might just stay hot and stay aggressive.
You know, I see a plus in front of Buddy Boeheim's name, and it's very tough for me to pick anyone else. So I will go with Buddy. I did say it will be the bounce back game for him. So I will roll with Buddy Boeheim. All right, we will get to that BetOnline.ag spread and total in just a little bit. But first, it's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure that Built Bar is a part of your plan. It is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and maybe even better than a candy bar because Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolution. Just because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars that can be waxy, chalky, or taste like a chemical spill. Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate as well, and most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which has 240 calories and 30 grams of sugar with dozens of net carbs. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least enjoy something that tastes good and is good for you. That way, when you enjoy a delicious Built Bar, you can almost count it as a workout. And they've got a number of flavors to choose from, whether it's the coconut almond, the peanut butter brownie, our personal favorite on the show, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and they've even got new ones coming out seemingly every week. So check out Built.com often to see what's new. And right now, go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. So right now, Ken Pom is projecting an 81-76 Wake Forest win. For our purposes here, we will make that line 5. That line should be up on betonline.ag shortly. But where do you sit right now? Syracuse, Wake Forest, the line is 5. What do you like here?
I don't know, man. I'm really torn on all these ACC games because part of me feels like Syracuse should be playing as hard as they possibly can. I saw a couple of the players after the game were saying it's a do or die mentality going forward. If there's ever a time to go down there, play hard, get a win, it's this one. But also, they've been playing hard and really needed to win the last couple times out. And there's just so many holes in this defense. And I do think Wake is legit solid. They're at home. So I guess I'll take Wake, which I'm hesitant to even say. I think Wake wins the game. I just don't know if they actually win it by 5 or more. I think that's the part that scares me because I do feel like all these ACC games are going to be close and Syracuse is probably going to be in it. Heck, they'll probably get up in the first half again, just the way that these things have been going.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it wouldn't be a terrible bet to maybe take Syracuse in the first half and then Wake for the game. Like, I don't think that's a terrible bet, to be honest.
You'd be making a lot of money if you did that on every Syracuse game this year, which, by the way, they're 6-8 against the spread so far this year, which they've won the last 2 against the spread. Virginia won, but they've won, I think, 3 of their last 4. It's just they miraculously covered that last game. I'm sure anyone who bet Syracuse probably was just like, oh, I'll take them on the money line. What's that +2? Who cares? And
Cole Swider, the better's hero. Not just 1, but 2 threes that were really big for getting that team. And really almost drew a foul on that one and nearly pushed it into overtime too, which was pretty spectacular to see. I'm sure that made Jim Larinaga pull some of his hair out. But 81-76, 5-point spread there. I'll roll with Syracuse just because I have faith in them to keep it close. I don't really know. I'm not overly scared of Wake Forest either.
No.
But it's just one of those games where if you get into a shootout, like it could be a shot or 2 at the end. 5 is like a prime backdoor cover as well. Like think about it. You could be down 8 and then you get a Cole Swider 3 at the end, and then all of a sudden it's 5. You could be down 7, it's 4, and then you win. So I'm with you. I think Wake probably wins. Again, I'm kind of feel the same way I did about the Miami game. Any outcome would not surprise me. And maybe that's just going to be the nature of the ACC, and we're going to be saying that every single game. But I'll roll with Syracuse with the points, but I do think Wake Forest probably wins this one. So that total would shake out to be 157. You like the over on 157 for these two teams?
I'll take the under there. I've been riding with the overs mostly. I do think watching back the game, and this is a really hard point to make when Miami scored 58 freaking points in the second half, but they made a lot of tough shots too. And I do think the defense showed some progress in the first half, the way Jesse was playing, the way Benny got some extended time. So I could see this game in the 78-72 neighborhood, 80-74, something like that maybe is how this one shakes out, because as bad as the defense has been, I don't necessarily think that – I actually think Syracuse played worse defense than the Miami game.
I totally agree. Because like the Virginia game, it felt like you played 2 bad halves of defense, whereas in this one, you played a really good first half of really good first 19 minutes of defense. That little 4-0 run that Miami put together at the end was where you started to see the wheels fall off the tracks here. But I kind of liked what I saw those first 19 minutes, and I think it comes down to getting Benny a little bit more time, getting Samir a little bit more time, because it just makes the entire unit better.
The other thing to consider, Miami, I believe, had 25 points off of our turnovers. So if you take that out, or if you just level that to a normal output, and they kind of tacked on some extra points late, I think it was more like we allowed 78, 79 points in that game in a typical game, but also to allow 58.5, regardless of how many things kind of went against you, that is just really bad defense and inexcusable.
Yeah, like think about that. 20-minute half, and you allowed pretty much 3 points a minute. That is every minute Miami's coming down and taking a 3 and making one.
Yeah.
And you figure there's about 2.5 possessions per minute for both teams. So pretty much every possession Miami's coming down and hitting. Like what? That's the frustrating part. But I'm with you. I think this is a really high total for these two teams. Specifically,
Wake can score, and we can score too, and we probably will make shots and make threes, but I don't know. I think it's just a little bit too high.
Yeah, 157 is ambitious. So I'm with you. I'm going to take the under on that 157 there. All right. That is going to do it for us here on this preview edition of the Locked On Syracuse podcast. We will be back with you guys next week to break down Wake Forest and get you ready for the week ahead in Syracuse hoops as well. So for Tim, I'm Tyler. We will talk to you guys next week.